Hello, Bill Molyneux here for Bill's Wargame World, and well, I rearranged the tables. We have the tables are going to be set up for the Battle of Lexington and Concord, modified. All right. Well, right now we're going to do a Bill Basement jibber jabber. So we're going to cover a couple fun topics while I flock these figures, and we'll just chit-chat about wargaming fun. How's that sound to everybody? So let me get the camera set up. We're using green paint mixed with water, Elmer's glue, about a third, and a third. We have some flocking material. Martin Knight from England said I should add some sticks and stones to these bases. But, gosh, I'm lucky to get done what I get done. So I have an hour or two of free time tonight while my wife is resting. So let's get working. All right, welcome back, everyone. So the game for this weekend without the chuckleheads will be in the basement. I'm going with Lexington and Concord. And the reason I'm doing that is it's a small battle, and I can easily play it in probably an hour or two, and so that's sort of the idea. Also, we're going to be using Matt Fritz's Junior General rules, and so that will be the plan for that. They're 1/72nd, his Rev War rules for Saratoga, Guilford Courthouse, and but we're going to modify them with no problem. So now we just, there we go. And we now have a flocked base. Now, I have noticed my consistency of my glue stuff is a little thick. So, no need to fear, underdog is here. So, okay. So, I just made a new batch of glue, and it seems a little thick, and I need it a little thinner, and so we're going to add some water to it. And no, this is not a complete science, and I know there are so many veteran wargamers out there with their own systems and plans, but I'm just winging this, and who knows, I might have made this batch too thin now before it was too thick, but we'll see. And there we go. All right, so we have one base done. So we're gonna zap off these units, and so the order of battle, according to one website that uses, we're gonna also check several other wargamer sites besides the one I picked out, but it's be 12 bases of British Grenadiers and 12 bases of British Light Infantry in the beginning, and then there's a couple British line units and a couple cannons that show up later. So, and yes, my glue consistency is better. and I'm going to have to change our camera angles. So, to those of you watching this, we have a lot of bases to cover. Ha ha! So, who watched my, I guess the order of battle for the Americans, by the way, is a lot of militia bases, of course, and they come in sporadically according to die rolls on different roads. So, which makes it sort of a good game to play solitaire, as you play the British. The Americans just basically show up, and their job is to just stop the British. So there's not much thinking. Just always have the Americans advance and have them fire, but not get into hand-to-hand combat if possible. So, the flocking is going as planned, but the Lexington Concord game, I'm going to use a pretty easy set of rules. Nothing really fancy. So hopefully everyone will find it enjoyable, and hopefully the plan will be that a lot of people will watch, create some views that will create some money, because in 2 more weeks I go to Kinston, North Carolina, as long as my wife is okay, and I'm only going for like a day and a half, and going to be delivering the Weiss Fork money fund from YouTube. So it's nothing. So I'm hoping we'll get some people viewing this, and now, believe it or not, it's true, I put in too much water. Alright, so I have added more glue. Have you ever screwed up something? You know, life isn't perfect. Neither is wargaming. And sometimes you just have to laugh when you do have a mishap. Like, I was sort of in a hurry to get this mixture made. It was almost empty in my tub. And I quite often will measure stuff, and I didn't. I just poured it in, and so now I'm dealing with this mad scientist mode of trying to get the right consistency. Oh, and the reason I don't want it too thick is it doesn't spread as fast. And if it's too thin, it doesn't hold our lichen very good. Okay, so Eric Turner, Major Eric, he did Lexington Concord for us once in the Gettysburg area gamers. And I remember him saying how the British line units had not fought in a while, and they weren't as experienced from his point of view as people have given them credit for. So, but that game was a zillion years ago. I believe he used a set of my more complex rules for that. And if I, but gosh, that was probably a decade ago. So it's as I paint these, I'm going to hopefully have them done tonight, and be able to set up the wargame table for Lexington Concord the next day or so, which should be fun. And you know, the Chuckleheads will be in New Jersey for a convention, but my wife's health isn't up to me going. So my trip to Kinston, she has something planned. She's hoping with a relative, so they're going to do a girl thing at the house. So I won't be really missed in that sense. All right, so I always think it's interesting that the British drummers here have coats to match the facings of the units, and British Grenadier rules with Jim McCoffey, great reenactor and historian and wargamer, and really great fella. He runs some incredible war games at the conventions. He's quite well known in the reenacting world also. But I've interviewed him several times. He's well, and he has the British Grenadier rules. Excuse me, sneezing a bit there. In our live action world of flocking. Now, I'm finding a lot of people have asked me about the different stuff I do with Goober on the History Channel. So it's sort of odd. I have, what, 2,700 people subscribing and watching the Wargame channel. And I appreciate everyone that watches. I really do. And you know, for what I'm producing here, I'm amazed anyone watches. I'm just a goofball. I mean, these are BMC Grenadiers, by the way. But anyhow, you know, the Bill's History Channel with Goober the Traveling Bear, I have some videos there that have broke 10,000 views, but I'm still only at like 400 subscribers in 6 months, because I started that channel the 1st of August, basically. So, and that channel is really made for pretty much history stuff. Battlefields, museums, interviews, book reviews, and the whole concept behind that one was I have some people that were watching my Wargame channel that would see my history stuff. However, they didn't like the wargaming stuff. And then I have some of you out there don't care for the wargaming history, or the history sites. So that's why I went and made 2 channels. Of course, the wargaming channel keeps growing, but my history channel has been a little stagnant, even though I've had some wonderful videos and some great historians. And what's funny is I'm going to use Mr. Nell at the Veterans Museum in La Plata, Maryland, the Maryland Veterans Museum. He did a video on the 1903 Springfield, and that video is about I'm going to say, 2.5, 3 minutes long. Well, on the Wargaming channel, it hit, I think we're at 2,500 views. And yeah, on the other channel, it's at like 40. So, I'll give another example. I have French Marine talking about French Marines during the French-Indian War on the Wargame channel, and that's got 23,000 views. On the History channel, it's got like 12. So it's really bizarre of how it's not consistent from channel to channel. So any of you super duper YouTubers, explain to me why that happens at times. So the Lexington Concord game, get back on, it's going to just be bases take casualties. They have 2 hit points each. And, boy, it's amazing the difference when you flock these bases. I mean, so when I get done with this game on, my music stopped, by the way. We got to fix that. We're going to do a big Rev War battle. I believe Saratoga is what everyone's been asking about. So, I also had a really interesting person ask a question about using my Rev War figures for my French-Indian War. Alright, as far as the French go, for the most part, you can get away with that with no problem. Now, luckily in Bill's world, you can get away with a lot of stuff, including using British line infantry for French-Indian War. And the reason is the French-Indian War line infantry were red paint trousers, red breeches, but they were transitioning to the white. But yes, British line infantry for the French-Indian War shouldn't have the white like that. However, in the Bill world, we can get away with anything. I gotta stop the camera and bring another batch of figures over to flock. Okay, welcome back. So if you wanted to have a French-Indian War game and everybody in your group only has the, I guess, the Rev War British line infantry, it's not the end of the world. I am amazed. One of the things I've noticed a lot in the hobby, and I'm an old Donald Featherstone style wargamer, but one of the things I've noticed is in some parts of miniature wargaming, persnickety has taken over in a lot of areas. And I think some of that is because of the incredible rule books that have been released by several game companies, miniature wargaming rule companies, where the rule books have these stunning pictures of these fantastic battles to entice you to buy their figures, wargame rules, and it makes people say, I need to make my stuff look that good too. And I'm going to use the old keeping up with the Joneses as far as yards. You know, if you've ever heard of that saying. So I'm going to say this is only my opinion, and you can leave comments and all that, then I'm totally wrong. But you know, I have every Donald Featherstone book, most Peter Grant books. So they have black and white pictures for the most part. Donald Featherstone's wargame book on airborne operations, which is Crete and Arnhem. His Arnhem battle in 172nd Plastic, you know, it is not at all stunning as far as the pictures and the figures. He's using Airfix and Atlantic. But in that time period, you know, he was a major force in the wargaming industry, of what industry existed at the time. So, you know, so I think some of this, got to have perfect figures, got to have a perfect battlefield, everything has to be, shaded perfectly. And I think it's wonderful for the people that can do that and have that ability. But not everyone has the time or even the physical ability to do it, some of that level of detail. And you know, if they're putting out a game and things aren't perfect, it's not the end of the world, because how many people have been to a war game at a convention and you're playing with 8 other people, and everyone's having a great time, and then you have one person that might be a little persnickety and be a bit of a rules lawyer, let's say, and irritates the rest of the table. Has that ever happened to you? For me, I find it interesting, but and one of the things I have found is people that sign up for my games, they really know what they're getting into. They know they're getting into a bucket of dice, 1 or 2 pages of rules, not a very complex rule system, and it's meant just to be fun, move figures around for 3 or 4 hours, and roll dice. And you know, it makes me think of a story. Had a guy in our wargaming group, Mike Bell, and he wanted to play. Oh, we got dog alert, dog alert. Well, welcome back. We had a dog alert. So so we'll continue with our Michael Bell story. So he wanted to play in this gigantic Waterloo game in 15 millimeter, and I'm not going to say what rule system it is, but it was a lot of people, like a 20-foot table, Historicon thing, and I'm going to say this is a good 15 years ago, let's say. So in the morning I saw Mike and I chit-chatted with him, and he had his command, and he was at the edge of the table. Came back, played a game. I think I did some Wally basement stuff. Came back and he was hardly had moved. Came back again in the afternoon, still hadn't moved, only a couple feet by that point. And they had a lunch break, a dinner break, and at 8, 9 o'clock, he still hardly had moved. It was quite funny. All right, we'll continue with my story on the Mike Bell excitement with his Napoleonic game. And so to end it off, a couple of us within the Gettysburg area gamers, we picked on Mike about that for a long time. So the Chuckleheads are going away this weekend. They're going to be in New Jersey. Now at the convention in Historicon, my plan is to help the Chuckleheads and Walt and Kevin and Mike Kennedy, and we'll also Jim Purdy and his giant Pickett's Charge game, which looks stunning. He's running that this next weekend in Indiana, I think. So now, if someone asked, by the way, to try to stay focused, how many 54mm Revwar figures I have? Well, if we count all the Native Americans, woodland type, not the Plains Custer's Last Stand ones I have, because we'll just stay within the parameters of the French Indian War Revwar figures. I think I hit around 2,000 now. With Mike Priest's collection that I got from him and his brother, that was over 400 figures, I think. And with what I already had, so I'm pretty sure I'm somewhere in the close to 2,000. And oh, somebody asked me about the poker chips on these figures. Okay. See them? I love the rules brother against brother. So they're an individual figure type system. However, as I've talked about in the past, I'm getting tired of having to handle individual figures. And I'm going to this system a lot for my Civil War and Revwar games. And the washers are a heavy duty washer or poker chip. They're actual metal with a clay wraparound. And so I initially tried to peel some of these figures off these poker chips. Okay. Well, my goodness gracious, E6000, great glue that it is, was almost impossible to pry these things loose. So I said, like that, I'm just gluing the washers down on the bases. And you know what? Who's really going to care? I mean, heck, if these make it to a convention one time in a decade, I'll be lucky. And right now, my wife doesn't like me to have people over to our house anymore because she's just not feeling very good. And another couple of weeks, I'm going to be asking all of you out there in YouTube land to put out some good positive vibes, because May 1st is going to be a special day to maybe have her feeling better. So look at that. So when these get put out in 5 bases as a regiment, they're going to look pretty darn stunning, I think. What do you think? All these black styrofoam sheet things, Walt Leech gave them to me. Him and all the Chuckleheads are awesome. The great batch of fellas. And of course, Walt is a legend in the wargaming world. running tournaments and everything that he does. His wargaming room is spectacular. I still haven't figured out my wargaming boathouse. The estimate alone for the lighting and heat and light fixtures was over $1,000. So, and that's without air conditioning put in there. So, and it would be horrible to have the hurricane take that away. So I haven't decided what I'm going to do for the boathouse in Virginia. And I hate to say it, I also had somebody say, well, run an extension cord out for 2 light stands and that would work to get some lighting out there, which, you know, could work for a while. I don't know. So, the figures here, by the way, these are Marks Grenadiers. We're going to use them as light infantry, I think, for our exciting Lexington and Concord game. And a few of them need some touching up yet. But my gosh, I got lots of bases yet to flock. It'd be nice to have a party of wargamers here, just flock stuff. You know, I used to have quite a few wargame parties here at the house. I had a couple gigantic deck parties, and one got sort of carried away. I had over 50 people show up. Maybe a little bit more than that. And but since my wife isn't really up to company and all, then I was running games here once a month where I was having Derek and half a dozen different people coming over. But we stopped that. And of course, the Gettysburg area gamers. You know, if you're curious about the Gettysburg area gamers, we met for 20 years till I moved. A fellow named Bill Clark and Ron Keach were responsible for starting the group. I think Ron Keach is about 93 now, and he's still alive. And I haven't seen him in about a year. But he's a great guy. And then Bill Clark died around 2008, I believe. So, but the Gettysburg area gamers met at the Farnsworth House at one time, the Reliance Mine Saloon at one time, my house for several years, probably a decade worth. I took my garage and spent a fair amount of money and turned it into a wargame room. It was pretty fancy, at least in that time period it was. So that's and at our peak, the Gettysburg area gamers were averaging between 15, 16 people every Thursday night. And then Elwood Woody, famous author and historian, he wrote for Gettysburg Times. He wrote some historical books, including The Struggle for the Bliss Farm. And he also wrote for Star Trek The Next Generation, where they actually paid for him to fly out there to make up fake words and for engineer Geordi to come up with, where the nuclear particle acceleration machine was broken or whatever. That was Woody's job, to come up with strange names. And when he passed away, I inherited his Star Trek uniforms and stuff, and I believe Josh has them now. And it was now Woody we have the Facebook site, the Nottingham, well, it used to be Nottingham, now, excuse me, it's the No Stress Miniature Wargaming site, which allows unpainted figures and anything goes with no issues. So if you don't ever get your figures painted but you're still wargaming with them, you could post the pictures there and there's no issue. But on that site, in the files section of the No Stress Miniature Wargaming group, in the files are tons of old newsletters that Woody wrote that contain rules, pictures, and scenario briefs of each wargame we did. And Woody wrote that for about close to 5 or 6 years. And I've tried to download many of them. So there's probably 50 on there at least, maybe more. And the rules are quite neat too, and pictures. But sometimes going back in time in that way and seeing pictures of Gettysburg area gamers have lost a lot of members due to age. So there's times I don't always enjoy going back in time, and other times it's neat to see Josh Warith, the 3D printer king, when he's like 12 years old, 14 years old when he joined the group, along with Kyle, who now is in the Pittsburgh Wargaming group, and he has a little one himself. And so, but it is interesting to see pictures of some of the young fellas that were in our group, and now they're in their 30s and 40s with kids themselves. And amazing how fast time really flies. Boy, you got to admit, 54 millimeter Rev War figures, these things are going to look stunning when I do a really big battle on a 20-foot table, maybe. Forming up at 5 bases per regiment and just going crazy on this. I think it will be very impressive. Leech has a really nice 54 millimeter Rev War Army too. Now all his figures are flat. They've been painted flat. Mine are gloss. I went with the H.G. Wells Little Wars style. By the way, my paint glue consistency is pretty good now. So but I didn't go with a super gloss. I didn't do the glaze gloss. I just did the medium gloss to get that sort of a shiny look that I like to go back to. So the covering lots of goofy topics as I paint here. Everything from the old Gettysburg group to the current Chuckleheads. And I gotta say that, the Chuckleheads, every wargaming group is great. I do stuff with the Hawks, and it just, any group is good. Ron Perlman, the Pretzel Snyder King, he has a great group. They meet on Wednesdays. They're phenomenal. And once Lisa gets healthier, I'm going to plan on going down to Ron's. And I got 2 years to retire, hopefully. And then I can go to Ron's house for his Wednesday battles. They have a game, I think it's one Wednesday a month. So, but, the Chuckleheads, Been with them over, well, I guess close to 2 years now, and Walt and Kevin, they're all like family. They really are. And it's they've you know, my wife is really taken by them also, how nice they are. You know, Walt gave us a machine gun that shoots nerve bullets. Oh yeah, that's right. I need to. Lisa told me I've shot her a couple times in the rear end and got in trouble. It was an accident. Goober really did it. So I'm supposed to take that and give it back to Walt, and Walt can give it to one of the grandkids. As first time was a mistake and it was an accident, but I was showing someone, a neighbor was over, and I was showing him how it worked, and I don't know how it happened, but Lisa walked by, and the next thing you know, it just nerve darts were flying all over the place. So what do you think? I think they look darn good. They really do. Now, I'm going to pause the camera because we got to bring forth those Americans, and we get those done. I'm ready to go check on my wife and see how she's doing, if I need to make her some tea or something. So she wanted to sleep for a couple hours this evening. All right, everyone, we have about 25 American bases to paint, and then we're going to go and check on the wife and do some other chores. And but we'll finish these off. I don't know who's really going to listen to this, me just basically jabbering. You know, I've been talking about going to Kinston and all the money that this YouTube channel is making this last 6 weeks. Kinston, North Carolina has the CSS Noose. It is the only Confederate ironclad above water. It was resurrected out of the Noose River in the 60s. And one of the things I got to say is they have a museum. They have a reproduction, full-scale model of the Noose. And they have a really cool motel there. They have the Weiss Fork battlefield there. And something else that doesn't get advertised is they have phenomenal staff and people that live in the town. And what I mean is, I spent 2 days there 2 years ago, and everyone from the hotel staff, the restaurant people, wherever we went, everyone was just wonderful and just fantastic. Just fantastic, and really quite amazing that the small little town like that with an incredible museum. And Matthew, the curator of the museum, he actually was moving that day from one house to another, and he left his moving, and I don't know how he told his wife, hey, I gotta go see this guy with a stuffed bear. But Matthew actually left the middle of his moving of his one house to the other house. It showed up at the museum on his special day off to move, just to meet me and shake my hand and say thanks for coming to the museum. And you know, let's be honest, some museum curators, heck, I have some museums that really have no interest in doing anything, working with me on anything, and I have other museums that are over the top about working with me and trying to help promote history and raise money for him. So he was just fantastic. So right now, going from the Virginia house to there isn't so far away, and I have to be there to get some, believe it or not, we're having a washer and dryer delivered that night before, so I'll already be within striking distance of Kinston from the Virginia house. Now, from the Maryland house, that's a whole different world. So, so this one figure here holding the flag is pretty cool. See about, there he is. So he's got his saber out, and so these guys will all be seeing combat this weekend, as we do Lexington and Concord with Matt Fritz's Junior General basic wargame rules, which will give us a flavor of the Revolutionary War, and hopefully make a cute little video. I don't know if Goober the Traveling Bear will show up or not, but I presume he will, because Lisa wants me to still send him with the Chuckleheads to New Jersey, but I have a feeling he would never come back. Oh. Because I think Lisa would pay them not to bring him back. There we go. The militia troops are looking darn good too. Oh, I had a big debate. Tell me what you think of this. Someone leave a message. George, you leave a message. I had a couple different people, and friends with all of them, by the way. I know a lot of people in the wargaming world, of course. And several people are running for, or helping people run for, the board for HMGS. So, they asked if I would endorse them in a video, interview them in a video. And in the beginning, I thought, okay, it'll be a neat way to get their point out and this and that. However, after I got thinking about it, I decided not to do it. And the reason is I just don't want to get into politics. I just want to stay in my little world of toy soldiers. And God forbid, such and such person gets in a disagreement with another person and I supported them. And life is just too short. And in real life politics, Goober and I do not do politics in the History Channel, the Facebook thing. I joke that Goober supports the Bull Moose Party and Teddy Roosevelt. And I've gotten to the point in politics, if you're wondering, I just think everyone needs to be nice to everyone. Just be kind and treat people the way you want to be treated, and vice versa. And I guess not get into people's business too much. And I'm going to leave it at that, because as we all know, we're in an election year, and it's going to get crazy. But when you come to Bill's Wargame YouTube channel, you don't have to worry about seeing an ad for Goober supporting, I don't know, who would he support? I guess Teddy Roosevelt. It's the closest thing. I guess Teddy came up with the teddy bear idea, or someone did, with the, so So that's my view on the whole HMGS and politics in our, our regular world of politics. And hopefully, whoever does win in the board of directors and all that kind of stuff, that for HMGS board members, that they'll do good, and everyone has a vision, and their vision for which way HMGS should go and where the conventions should be even. It may not be the view that someone else has, but it is what it is. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of the Lancaster Convention Center when I'm trying to run a big game, because it is difficult to get your stuff in and out of there compared to the Disselfink room, for example. So, but once you're there and set up, it's pretty good. And there's a lot of room. So if that makes sense to somebody out there. So that's my view, at least on that. And I'll always be a big fan of the Lancaster host, or the Wyndham now it's called. So, they used to, there's another wargaming group I belong to called the Society of the Daisy. Tracy runs that group. And Otto Schmidt started it with Andy Tarleton. And Andy ran Fallen, I think, for several years. And he had Sergeant Major wargaming figures. And he had some health issues. But, Otto's been gone, I don't know, decade? But the Society of the Daisy, they still have a convention every June. So, we are running out of flocking material. We need to put more in. So, I'll pause the camera and grab some more. All right, everyone. Well, we have some fine turf mix. I didn't find any brown sand gravel, and I'm sort of in a hurry, so it is going to be a little greener without any fall foliage or sand in it currently, because I really just want to get these done. So, and boy, they are looking nice. Nice figures, great paint job. Jim Shaw paints a lot of my figures. Oh, my new glasses. Thinking of painting and eyesight. The eye doctor told me I needed to give my new glasses 3 to 4 days for them to get adjusted to my eyeballs. And they are now working pretty darn good. The first couple days I was thinking I wasn't going to make it with these. But totally wrong. They're working good. And got my eye medicine, of course, and eye drops. And hopefully my macular degeneration stuff won't get worse. But I know a Frito-Lay rep, and his mother has it, but he said she's gone like 10 years without hardly having much of an issue. And the tunnel vision or whatever that happens hasn't hit her. And that's how, what I was told is you can, with treatment and sunlight is a big deal too. It's not getting a lot of sunlight helps. Oh, I'm really looking forward to getting these on the battlefield. I mean, I know some people said, oh, you got to do Saratoga, but we're going to start small. Plus, I only have a 10-foot table in here. And I think to do Saratoga at 54 millimeter, I would need to go on my back deck and set up the monster table, which is like 30 feet long. I haven't done that in several years, where I had the giant table set up, and gosh, I had people as far as New Jersey here, and even Zeb Cook, famous, otherwise, Zeb, the great famous Dungeons and Dragons fella. In fact, he was here for my birthday a couple years ago. Him and his wife Helen, they're wonderful people. We've gone to their home, and they lived in Baltimore for cookie parties, and they've been very good friends. They've moved now, and we don't see them. But boy, Zeb used to be my hotel roommate sometimes for wargame conventions too, which was pretty cool. And oh, nice little flag. The Culpeper Minutemen, don't tread on me. No, the Mike Priest figures. So you got to admit, these are looking darn good. And we will be able to do Lexington Concord. I'm hoping Friday night to have it set up and do a video of the setup. And right now, with what I've got flocked, we definitely, I think, have enough of the order of battle to get away with. At least, I know we have the British side. We needed 12 and 12 bases of grenadiers and light infantry. So we have that with no problem. There. So Ron gave me some grenadiers, the Pretzel King, of course, and I already got them spray painted and up for action. And oh, the Panzer II idea of so many wonderful people told me about the Czechoslovakian tank and the Panzer III that Ron gave me, and the Panzer IV that were ripping the main gun out and putting a machine gun and a 20 millimeter cannon in it for the Panzer II, after I watched that movie April 9th of April on Denmark invasion of Germany invaded Denmark, and the bicycle rifle unit tries to hold off basically Panzer Grenadiers. So sometime I can do a little battle of that. You know, the Gettysburg area gamers, we ran just about every Thursday without ever missing a game for years. Other than when Rob Wingert passed away, which actually was game night, which was not a good, that was sort of a weird thing. And when Woody passed away also, and Bill Clark. But for the most part, even when I was away for meetings for work, they had a key to the wargaming room, and they could wargame when I was out of town. So we were just like family, and most of them were at my wedding when I married Lisa, and Gosh, I'm amazed how long I've been with Lisa since 2016 now. There we go. A couple of these bases I had too close together when I glued them. It made it hard getting the glue in between. So we got 5 more bases to go. We're going to call it a night. And what I'd like to say is, if you watched this all the way through, I hope you didn't say, boy, am I ever bored, or what a waste of 45 minutes. But if anything, yeah, I'm missing doing stuff with the chuckleheads. You know, I can't see them this weekend, and next weekend will be so this is my hopefully I'll see the fellas in another couple weeks, and life will get a lot mellower once my wife is feeling better in the coming month. We have a cure coming, we think. And you know, my wife Lisa, she has been to wargame conventions. When we first dated, she showed up at Historicon with some staff members, and that was interesting. So, looking for me I was running the Mary Jemison raid, French Indian war game, I think 28 millimeter, and she's been to several Hawks games. She particularly likes Howard Whitehouse's rules, A Gentleman's War, because they're sort of slow paced and not very complicated, and she got the gist of them really quick. So when we finish these last 3 bases, we'll say goodnight, and I'll go do some chores and make some tea and see how my wife is feeling. And because of the dogs, if I'm upstairs and I make too much noise and they're laying with her, they freak out if I drop a fork or a spoon. So for her to get a little bit of rest when I'm in the rest of the house, I need to run silent and run deep type of thing. So that's why I'm often in the basement. So she did really good at the Daffodil Festival until the next day. Then her wheels came off her cart because she did too much. And as Jim Shaw would say, sometimes wives don't listen. But I guess that applies to us men too. Especially when it comes to asking for directions. That's supposed to be the big joke. So we're going to close this out with my one more base to go. George in New Jersey. Bruce, E4 Airmen. I highly doubt you watched this to the end, let alone John the Sheriff. He's got people to apprehend in Broome County, New York. So I highly doubt he watched this. But what we are going to do after we paint this last base, we will do a quick scan of these units. And the next time I make a video here, we will have Lexington green condensed with a little bit of, I guess it'll be Concord. I think we're just going to have Concord and I don't know. I have to find another table to get, 16 feet. Okay. So, pretty darn cool. All right, everyone. What do you think? You got to admit, throwing the flocking on really helps. And we have a lot more yet to do on gluing on bases. But as far as the British Army, our order of battle with what I have here and what's in the storage room, we can easily do any Rev War battle now in 54 millimeter. And if you know of a Boy Scout group or something to that effect, or a historical society group, or a battlefield even, or a museum, Jim McGawkey has done a few of those too. Chad's Ford, I believe. And I was at Jamestown just a couple weeks ago. So but we can try doing a presentation. So I'm going to end this out with my standard saying: stay safe, be kind, be courteous. Thank you for watching this crazy video of nothing but me jabbering about topics, wasting time. And I appreciate everyone that watches and leaves comments, because life is short, and if this brought some enjoyment to somebody of just seeing some of these figures, then I'm happy. Thank you again for watching, and stay tuned for the Battle of Lexington and Concord.